So I've been looking for a solution for the empty flower bed in the fruit garden, and this is the answer. This little trough full of these seedlings. I'm not sure what this flower is. It was given to us, or the seed was given to us, but it's too dense in here, and I can take a few clumps out and everything that's left will do better, and I can put these into the plot and hopefully we'll have another full seed bed. So here we are at the empty bed. We'll get all this covering off, some of which I'll need to put back, otherwise these seedlings won't last long in this bed because of the cats. There we go. It's like Fort Knox. Okay, so interestingly, since I weeded it, there's been almost no weed growth. We've got a bit of mare's tail here, unsurprisingly. We'll just get that up. There we go. Another little bit there. Okay, so we've got a reasonably weed-free surface, and we'll start to put these in, and I think I'll follow the patterns that I've been using, which is sort of 6 or 8 clumps. Let's see what we got here. And there we go. That seed bed hopefully will now grow on and produce some flowers either this year or next year, and we'll give that a good watering in. So there we go. That's a nice little bed of potentially nice flowers, and that completes the seed beds under the fruit trees. So here we've got the cosmos, which has got some nice flowers or buds on it now. I'm looking forward to those. I've got a good, I don't know, maybe 20 plants in there, which is really good. This is the marigolds that I planted because we didn't get any germination of the seeds we put in. We've lost one, and we'll see if we can find a replacement for that, but they look nice. And this is the poppies, the seed of which I was given by my mother, and they are just looking amazing now. And we've got flower heads now on many of them as they come to maturity, and the forget-me-nots, which I weeded and weeded and weeded, are still coming. If you get this in your plot, it's pretty, but it's prolific, and I don't think you ever get rid of it. So they're looking good. And the calendula, more forget-me-nots. The calendula are really going well, and we've got quite a lot of flower heads coming on here, and Mrs. K will be turning that into calendula balm, which should be good. And this second bed of calendula, equally as strong and different variety, and it'd be interesting to see those heads, but they're beginning to flower, so that's good. I wanted to show you this. Now, I don't normally carry a ruler around with me in the plot, but today I decided I'm going to measure this leaf because it is enormous. Just look at that. So what have we got? Oh, need to open the ruler one more time. So from tip to toe, about 31 inches, about 80 centimeters. Unbelievable. That's the biggest rhubarb leaf I think I've ever had. and it's a cracker. And certainly the stems in here are looking wonderful now. We'll be harvesting them and making some nice rhubarb tarts, I'm sure. Now, in terms of harvesting, put that ruler down for a minute. I noticed when I was coming in the plot this morning that there's so many raspberries that have begun to turn. Just look at those. Beautiful. So I think we're going to be filling a good punnet full today and using them for our dessert this evening, I think. So the raspberries are not prolific enough yet to pull for jam, but I think if we pick a fair few, they'll make a really good dessert. Looking forward to that. In fact, there's even more around here. Just look at these, turning a really nice bright red now. I've opened the polytunnel up today and I've opened the back door because I got so much good advice about the leaf curl on these tomatoes. And I think the main consensus is it's the changes in temperature and the heat that causes them to curl. And it does no real harm to the tomatoes, which is very reassuring. But thank you to everybody for the great feedback, and I'm feeling a lot more reassured that it won't damage our crop. And the aubergines, I also got an awful lot of advice and was also pointed to one or two cracking videos that cover the best things to do to grow aubergines. So I'll be looking at that in the not too distant future to make sure I take the right steps. And this one's really cracking on now. So hopefully we'll have some lovely aubergines. So last night I came over and watered some of the beds. I watered the beans and most of these smaller beds because it got really warm, and I think I'm going to be watering again this morning. It's a fine line with the watering. You don't really want to do it in the heat of the sun. So early evening is not a bad idea. I think ideally early morning is the best. And the main thing is it gives the chance of the water being taken up by the plants and soak into the ground before the heat of the sun evaporates it. So that water that I put on here last night, you can see that it's still leaving the soil damp, which I think is a good thing, and the plants can soak up a bit more this morning as they get cracking in the sunshine. One of the things I am definitely going to do today is take this garlic out. Last night I pulled this one because it had fallen over and it's quite clear that it's rotted, and I'm not sure what's caused that, but that's the indicator for me that I need to get this out. So I'm going to pull this now and see what garlic I've got. Should be very interesting. So you'll probably remember that I took out nearly half of the garlic that was in this bed, and this was the end result. And there's some substantial garlic there, and they're drying nicely. The leaves are now drying off and we're forming those nice skins around the cloves. And these were the few that I've brought on from bulbs that came from the top of the plant, and I'll replant those probably. So it'll be interesting to see the ones that I've left a bit longer. They're different varieties and they've got rust, like these had rust, but the general advice I got was leave them in and get them going a bit longer, and so that's what I've done. And now's the time to pull them out, and they are certainly fairly significantly damaged by rust, but by all accounts that will have no bearing on the cloves. So hopefully we've now got some nice cloves to pull from the ground. Let's see. Yeah, quite good. Funny bend on that one, but we're not going to worry about that. Oh yes, look at that. Really nice. So we'll have the rest of these out, and it'd be interesting to see what the far variety looks like, because that is different, but these cloves are ample size for our needs. So that was interesting and exciting at the same time. So what's clear is I've got a great crop of garlic, and there'll be more than our needs, which is fantastic. But we've got a few different things going on here. We had just a couple of really tiny garlics which won't come to anything, but we'll probably chop them up and put them in the salad. We've got, oh gosh, 20 or so fairly small cloves which we'll leave to harden off, and they'll make reasonable kitchen cooking garlic. We've got probably a dozen really nice bulbs which are going to turn into cracking garlic for cooking, and maybe one or two for planting on. And then we've got a collection of more troublesome garlic, and these have got a form of rot, and I think this is white rot. And what that means is you can use the garlic, and if you just rub it gently, you can see that the outer skins have diminished in integrity, and they clearly are not particularly well. So the thing to do is to use this garlic early. White rot is a problem, and what it means is that that bed is not a good idea to plant garlic again, certainly in the foreseeable future. So we won't be putting garlic there, we'll be putting something else in there, and we'll reselect where we grow garlic next time. And of course we've got ample choice, so it's not going to be a problem. But that's a shame. I know that my neighbour has white rot in some of his land, and the best way to avoid it is just not to plant into that ground, and that's what we'll be doing in the future. So I'll gather all these together, trim them, and get the roots off and get them ready for drying. And the ones that have got the rot, I'll hook those out, and they can go straight home and be used during the coming weeks and months, and we'll store the others for the future. So all in all, I'm really pleased with the garlic harvest this year. It's chalk and cheese compared to last year, when I really only had a handful. This year, ample for our needs, and probably enough to give away to anybody who needs it. So good times. We've got some beautiful strawberries ready to pick, so I think we're going to add those, and should make quite a nice dessert. Oh, got a weed in there which I'd like to take out, but it's well and truly in there. There we go. Well, we've come to the decision that we're going to harvest some of this rhubarb, and there's some mighty big leaves in here. Now the question is to whether we pull it or whether we cut it. I'm going to try pulling it to start with, I think, because that's traditionally how you harvest rhubarb. And we'll take a couple of these big leaves, and then hopefully the leaves that are underneath will flourish and be the next crop. Now, I never expected to crop these this year, as I only moved them at the beginning of the year, but they've done so well. Probably the combination of damp and sun, and that seems to have been a real success. So let's have a go, see what we can get. Today's harvest on the hoof is pretty rewarding, really. We've got quite a few raspberries, not enough for jam, as I say, but good enough to eat. A whole punnet of strawberries and 2 different varieties of rhubarb, and there was a lot more rhubarb there for picking in due course. And of course we've got the garlic, which is done really well. So this rhubarb will probably stew, and we're going to try 2 different methods. We're going to stew and freeze, and we're going to cut and freeze, and just see a bit further on, maybe in the winter, which we preferred, and that will give us some direction for what we do next time. So let's get these purple sprouting broccoli underway. So this is broccoli, purple sprouting, early, and it indicates that you can germinate them in 10 to 20 days, and you can sow May to early July, and we're at the end of June now. So given that we only need a few plants, I'm going to put 3 or 4 in these pots, 3 or 4 seeds in each pot, depending on how much compost I've got left, which isn't a great deal now. So I'll get that in and sow these few seeds. There we are, 7 pots of purple sprouting broccoli ready for early next year. So I've put 4 or 5 seeds in each one of these, and as they come through I'll just pick the strongest and cut out the balance, and that'll give me 7 plants, which is more than I need and gives me a few spare. You know what I'm like with spares. So there we go, and we'll get those into the polytunnel, and hopefully they'll germinate in that 10 or so days. Well, the polytunnel is stonkingly hot today, and this little thermometer up here says that it's 4 degrees because it's broken, and it's going right back to Amazon today. I've been pretty slow at putting these strawberry baskets back up on the shed, and subsequently I've been losing the fruit to slugs. So I'm going to weed them because they seem to have a few grass tufts coming out, and then I'm going to pop them back up on the shed. So I've been working on the allotment this morning. I've noticed some broccoli that just started to break to flower, and that would be a waste. So I'm going to take this fella out and we'll just have him for tea. Well, that's a nice sprig of broccoli. We'll steam that and have that with our tea. Now, I've been getting a lot of complaints, and it's always hard to handle complaints, but to be honest, these are not too difficult. The complaints have been coming from the goldfinch. The goldfinches devoured this every 2 days, and because I've been back to work, it's not been easy to keep on top of it. So I'm going to give it a fill up now and get rid of the complainers. There we go. That should keep them quiet for a while. The chickens this morning had only laid a couple of eggs, so I just need to go and check that we haven't got a few extras. And they will come running, of course, because they think that I'm going to give them something special, but not at the moment. This comfrey down here hasn't really come to much, but I have used a little bit of it in the feed that I've been giving to plants. Let's see what we got in here. Okay, one more. So that garlic bed is tilled over and ready for the next crop. I'll probably water that in tonight. I'm not going to water anything now because the heat of the day is really kicking in, and I don't think it'll do anything any good to be watering. It'll probably burn the leaves and it'll evaporate really quickly. So it's a shorter video than usual, but the heat of the day has come to bear, and I'm going to take those harvested items home and enjoy the rest of the day. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.